it's Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing card number 6 in my holiday card series for 2017. And today I'm going to start off by using this stamp set here from Simon Says Stamp. This is their Merry Christmas stamp. And I love big bold stamps like this for the holidays because you can make quick cards pretty much with these big bold sentiment stamps. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to prep my cardstock here with my anti-static powder tool. I am going to be embossing this sentiment, and we're going to be doing an emboss resist technique today. So I'm just going to make sure that I get that whole entire panel there good and covered with my powder, because I am going to, like I said, apply embossing powder on this, and I don't want any powder to stick. Now, I did stamp this down once. And as you will see as I go along, I'm going to be fixing some mistakes that I made. And I kind of knew this as I was going along and doing it, but I just went ahead and did it anyway. But overall, I think I salvaged the card just fine. But there are ways to get around what I don't do what I did, or what I'm doing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because you can see the shine and shimmer of my sentiment here. And then I'm going to be going in with my Distressed Oxide inks. And this is going to dull that shyness of the embossed sentiment. And I really didn't like that effect. And I knew that whenever I was going to do this, because it's got a pigment property in this ink, and it's going to go over that embossing, which makes it dull the sentiment. And so I don't know, I just went ahead and did it anyway, but I do get around it. So as we go along, I will explain to you what I am doing, but I'm just going to go ahead and do my emboss resist technique anyway right now. So I'm going to start off with my lightest color. I'm kind of doing an ombre effect too with my ink colors. So I'm going to be doing a light pink, which I think this is the lipstick color, worn lipstick, yes. And then I'm going to go in with Candied Apple. And then later on, I'm going to use just a very little bit of Fired Brick just on the very edges. But I go in and, like I said, cover this whole entire panel. You want to be careful with this, either Distressed inks or Distressed Oxides, because if you get your fingertips in it, it will come off onto your fingers really easily. You can kind of get your fingerprints in it, but it's easy to buff out, and it's easy to get that out of your blending. You can just really blend really well. And as I was trying to buff off some of the ink onto my sentiment, I guess my rag was a little bit wet, and so it caused me to smear a little bit of the ink. So this was just a comedy of errors all the way around with this card. I don't know what it was, but like I said, I did get around it, and I did, there's pretty much a fix for everything that you do whenever you make a card. Sometimes I get so frustrated that I just have to walk away and think about it. But I'm just kind of trying to buff off as much as I can of this ink and trying to get it as shiny as it was before. So here's another mistake that I did. And I know this, but I did it anyway. I tried to heat set it just a little bit, because obviously I just went in with wet ink. And so you want to make sure, obviously, that this ink is dry, but I was too impatient and I didn't. And thinking that I could go ahead and use my heat tool to speed up the drying process, and thinking it would be just fine. When in reality, I should have just really made sure that this was good and dry first before I went ahead and heat emboss this again, because it didn't remove my stamp. So I thought if I stamp over it again with my Versamark ink and re-emboss it, it will bring back my shine. But some of that embossing powder stuck to my background because it wasn't fully dry. So I had to go in with a dry brush, but no big deal. It's just a little bit meticulous. So if you do this, just know that it just takes a little bit extra time whenever you're creating. But I try to get off as much as I could with my dry brush, and for the most part I did get most of it off. There are some areas that I couldn't get in without just taking off all the embossing powder altogether, but I went ahead and heat embossed what I did have, and it turned out you know, pretty well. Like they said, there's some residual that was left over, and you can kind of see it in the video just a little bit. I don't think you really can see it in the photos, but like I said, I got it salvaged just fine. I did cut down this panel here just a little bit, and I'm using this Snow and Cocoa 6x6, and I die cut a piece of this pattern paper from my scalloped rectangle dies from Fawn. And I'm going for a little bit more of a traditional Christmas card today, and thought I would add, you know, add this pattern paper to it. It was a really pretty pattern to add to this ombre effect here. So I'm also using this Christmas foliage set, and I'm using this holly cluster with the berries and the holly cluster. And there is coordinating dies for this set, and I just wanted to stamp this down onto a piece of just white cardstock scrap that I had left, and it was the perfect size to do that with. And I just added just some really simple coloring with my Copic markers. I just picked out 2 different green colors and colored that in. And I left the berries blank. I didn't color those in on purpose because I'm going to be adding some Nuvo drops to that. So I've added my panel to my pattern paper. Now I'm going to go in and add some foam adhesive to the back of this panel here, because I do want to add some dimension somewhere. This is an overall simple card, so I wanted to add some dimension and give it some kind of interest, you know. So I am scoring my card base, which is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and adding my card panel to my card base. Now the card base is the Paper Tray Ink Vintage Cream, I believe, and not white. I wanted something that wasn't, you know, even though I stamped my holly in white, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really set it off that much from the card panel or card base. It's not that big of a contrast, if you will. But now you can see I die cut that holly, and I'm going to use the Nuvo drops and add some Nuvo drops to the middle there, and I'll just add some really pretty dimension to those berries. And then I'm going to take my, I believe this is the Stardust Stickles, and just lightly dab edges of these holly leaves. And I also added some white accents too to those berries, and you can see that shimmer and shine there. And I did salvage my card in various places, which is good. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video.